What's up, guys? Yeah, you're right. I guarantee DXY is pumping. Let's see what. Days like this, it's like just don't try to catch the right move or because some days FOMC. Well, this isn't FOMC, but some days Jerome speaking can pump stuff. Sometimes it does the opposite. So you really, people that if you see people playing news like this and then they're right and they brag about it, just know that they have no idea what the fuck they're doing, because they're just using that one win as a foundation to say that, oh, look, this is why you can play news. This is why that works. But in reality, they just got lucky. But you shouldn't even be, if you're in a trade whenever we're coming up to news like this, that's fine. But just de-risk and don't, really you should be taking profits if you're heavily up and you haven't taken any profits. Um, it's a no-brainer. It's not rocket science. But a lot of people, like, they want to play FOMC all the time. I mean, I've been a victim of it in the past. It's happened, but you got to learn. Somebody said ETH, please. That's what I was looking at before. I just sat down at my desk. I haven't even been looking at anything recently. So the only thing that I do see is our daily range with Ethereum is this right here. So we've got that. Oops, wrong tool. We had to break a structure right here, right? So that's going to make this our daily high. It's the highest point between the two lows. So now we have our daily low, our 4-hour low, weekly low. Everything low is down all the way down here. You know, so when that's the case, once we have a break of structure, in the weekly, everything we rated liquidity. That's what this arrow is for, is just to show where there was liquidity in the market. We expect a daily pullback at some point. Now how do we determine when we think this will happen? Well, we try to use demand zones and pair them with changes of character. Now, if we're on the daily, there is some demand over here, somewhere in this area, but I don't really like these zones that much. That's why I haven't really been a bull or interested in trying to ape into any buys or anything like that. So personally, I just don't like these zones. Um, it's just not the greatest area that hasn't been mitigated to me. I see all the high time frame zones have been mitigated, but we are starting to see. Thank you, baby. We are starting to see. We started to see signs of a pullback. We had this daily change of character. That internal high got taken. So you could say, okay, well, once we get a daily change of character, that's usually how we determine when we think a daily pullback is going to start. But in this situation, like we talked about in the class, the likelihood of a change, your first change of character using internal structure being correct and not being a false signal is reliant onto other confluences. So in this example, we do have one confluence really with this liquidity. Now I plotted this zone, maybe in this wick, but like I said, I really don't like the zone. I plotted it and I look at it, but it's not. When I look on the daily, okay, like, where's your zone? Okay, because this has been mitigated. All of this has been mitigated. This institutional candle has been mitigated. This has been mitigated. So the only possibility that I see of an area that hadn't been mitigated is going to be somewhere in these wicks, most likely. So let's go to a 4-hour. I just want to go and just see what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and delete this. So I drew it forever, but and then it's like, I mean, how um, we could say that this is the last zone that hasn't been mitigated. You could say that. Let's just see. I think this is where we bounced. I'm not sure. I want to say we're under it right now, actually. Oops. I might need to bring it over here. Yeah, we went way under that. So it's like, that's not really, it's just not. I don't like the zone. I don't think that that means the daily change of character to me would be morally probable of a false signal. Unify got you in 1 second. Um, but yeah, so I mean, we could look for this demand here. Like I had this plotted right here. this candle, because there was a fair value gap right there that we filled in the last daily candle. So, we could look in this area, but for me, I'm gonna need a lot. I'm not gonna just long this off a 15-minute change of character personally. And that's fine if it goes without me. I'm just not gonna do that. Because to me, the 4 hour is extremely bearish. Daily swing structure is bearish. When we look here, we got this baby closure above. I get it. It did barely close above. I get it. I'm not really trusting that personally, because all this structure is just so shit. Like that, like these little structures or these little closures, when they're that tiny and everything else is bearish, I'm gonna need more than that. I'm gonna need a second one for me to be convinced, especially with, we're not really in a higher time frame POI that I think is very valuable. So, being said, for me, I'm not that convinced of anything. And then also, go ahead, and if you're in alts and you're watching all sorts of shit, in my opinion, if Bitcoin's not bull, like you're gonna like go ahead and complain later about your TA not working and how market structure doesn't work, because it's you're playing within Bitcoin's game right now. And Bitcoin looks like a very clear bearish trend, which just made its correction, is now going to go down and at least take out some more lows here. So that's really what I would watch. I wouldn't sit around and watch every single alt. And you could now, if you're a scalper and you're day trading, don't listen and say, okay, well, I can't ever day trade again alts. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, if you're looking at like AVAX, like, I don't know why, like, it looked good around here, but when you see this, like, I don't know why you would try to buy this, because it's like we have price coming into supply. You're expecting a pullback. You got to break a structure. You have clear. This is what you want to see. You see that internal change of character after. You have the major one right here, which some people aren't as aggressive as I am. That was where mine was right here. See price literally reacting to it like clockwork. I mean, it's like, this is the kind of price action you want to see when you're trading smart money. It's very easy to trade. I haven't really been watching alts, but very clear pullback mode. Now maybe you could look down in here for a long, just based off this chart, right? But you're gonna need to be cognizant of what Bitcoin is doing around that area too. So just be aware. And also another thing too, I wouldn't even be like, everybody that comes from crypto chat. I know you love crypto, and it's like scary to like venture out into trailer stuff, but I'm telling you, crypto is the least you should be giving it the least attention right now. You can make much more money, or much more much more money, much more clean trades that are satisfying on playing indices. And then even after indices, forex is better than crypto, because you got to remember there's so much. Like, let's just look at this. Well, the total crypto market cap's 874 billion. Or 874 billion. That's the all of crypto. That's everything in all of crypto. So let's just see. Why is it in fucking euros? Hold on. I don't know why it's showing in fucking. There's a thing that I saw it showed. It's in the trillions, like it's like 10 trillion or something like that. I don't know why it's not gonna. It's a U.S. stock market. Yeah. I don't know. I know that it's above 10 trillion, around that area. Now, the point of the story is, you're trading something, and this is all of crypto. This is not, one asset or one thing you're trading. This is everything that you're looking at is such a minuscule amount of money compared to where the money is flowing in and out of right now, which is indices. Whenever we have uncertainty in the market, large scale investors such as BlackRock, Citadel, these kind of investors that actually are market makers, actually are moving price and causing the patterns that we're trying to identify. They're not trading fucking AVAX or Solana. They're just not. So, you want to go where the money goes. You don't have to get attached to one thing. I think that's a really important aspect of being successful trading in the long term. So that's just my 2 cents on that. Speaking of NAS, let's do some TA here. I'll refine this zone down a little bit. So I just want to go to a 15-minute after I've drawn it. This is probably going to be a 1-hour order block if we looked at it on a 1 hour. Those 4 candles right there. Seems like that's where we reacted to. I'm not going to be trading right now. Yesterday was an amazing day. There's no need to just force everything. Got a breaker block up here too in this flip zone. I'm not sure how long JPOW is speaking, but I know somebody asked for Unify. Longway did. Let me just go ahead and look at that. Well, your market structure is basically just fucked. Like you're never gonna until you break down multiple times because okay, your market structure is literally like somewhere down here on the 4 hour, like wherever it is up to here. So you can just say, of course, theoretically you're bullish, but I wouldn't buy that, obviously. Now if we look here, looks like you've got some buy side liquidity being engineered. Maybe even I want to swap this. Let's see. Yeah, you took out that high. I mean, I wouldn't really be touching this personally. That's just me, but just for that reason of like the 4 hour structure here is just like, I mean, what are you gonna do with that? You know? Because for me, the 4 hour is pretty important. I try to trade with the 4 hour. So I guess if you wanted to, I mean, because we're bullish theoretically on the 4 hour, but obviously this is kind of just like an insane incident. So I don't know how we'd really look at that, but then you get the closure. So you're gonna look, okay, we closed. This was your price structure before, right there, and then closed above it. So obviously we know we have the lowest point down here. Then you have your high up here. So it's like, I mean, Jesus, you're not gonna trade off that. There's no way that I would trade off that. So I mean, at this point, I guess you could look at it for like scalps or something. I just hard for me to look at it with that 4 hour like that. But you could look at it. Just look for liquidity down here. Maybe some demand in this zone with that inefficiency being filled. You got a low right in front of it, right there. I would personally just watch something else, but if you had to do anything, I would be short bias just because the rest of the market, and this is just a total, scam coin. It seems like, and you got a liquidity right there on the 4 hour. Still liquidity up here though. I mean, it's just sloppy, man. Like if you had to trade it, you could look at this as an internal break of structure. Really, you could look more aggressive up here. Seems to be following bearish order flow. You broke structure there, came up, mitigated that zone, and then pushed the downside. Could watch, I guess, this zone up here for shorts. But then again, it's just like, it's kind of against the strategy for me because it's like the 4 hours theoretically bull, and you obviously don't have many 4 hour POIs to play off of where you're at. So you're kind of just trading against the 4 hour trend. But I wouldn't long it either. So. There's some mad degen plays on this in the Discord. I think I can't remember who it. Playboy, I know, is one of the people who's shorting it from up here. I want to see it. I was watching this last night. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because it came into a zone that I've been watching. I was refined. I think it was this zone was where I'd refined from. It was like a breaker or something. But I just, whenever we have news like this, I've learned my lesson from the past. Just don't, you know, even if your TA is good, even if you're trading smart money and everything is great and your TA is this and that, it's like you're just trying to piss against the wind, as like Playboy said. If you have big news coming out, or especially the fucking Jerome Powell speaking, if that man ever is near a live recording in a microphone, just sit on your damn hands until the dust settles. Now, after it's done, you know what I mean. You can, Also, somebody said hate MetaTrader. Wish the trading platforms were as good as crypto. In all honesty, like I get what you're saying. They kind of look like shit, but at the end of the day, they get the job done. And I'm almost they're growing on me a little bit because I like to see I like to see my individual positions. Like crypto, when you average into a position or you open, you have more than one entry on futures, it doesn't let you have two positions. That's one thing, and that can be frustrating if you because it's weird the way they do your averages um, on Binance. Like they'll just average it in, but I understand fully. Like I wish the interfaces were a little bit better. I recommend using the phone. Um, and another thing for spreads, like I don't really use like a mark or a limit stop. I use market stops. Like I watch. I mean, I don't recommend that to people who don't have willpower to close a position when they should. But that's the better way to do it, in my opinion, because I know a lot of people get frustrated with the spreads. This is starting to gear up nicely for longs, though. Like it needs more time, but I do like this. 'Cause you've got a lot of buy side liquidity being built. You have the 4-hour equal highs. You get those 15-minute equal highs. You've got some pretty clear targets you could be taking some of your position off at these inefficient price action areas. Um, what I need personally, though, is I need the 15-minute internal structure to switch bullish. And for me, that's going to be, we have to, right now, your high would be up here. But what I anticipate happening is price will make a new high, by coming and rating this liquidity again, or however many times it decides to do it. But then you'll have a new high. Price may come up, do it again. Then you have a new high. That's kind of how you see that accumulation start. Start to see those lows being swept with low time frame breaks of structure, or a lower time frame than this, and then finally, once you get the break of structure, you'll look for demand that sponsored it. Wait till price comes into it, then we look at our 1 minute. Simple as that. But it can take time, so take some patience. But the thing I like about having a strict criteria is it allows you to not, like, I'm not going to sit here and stare at this, and if it goes without me, that's fine, because by my criteria, I didn't have a trade, unless it does what I need it to do. So I'll keep an eye on pound dollar. I'm going to see USD CAD because I'm hoping it's going to pump up and give me a good entry. Let's delete this. This is an odd one because, theoretically, I guess you could say this is a POI, but it's choppy. Like that's pretty ugly. I don't know. I'm probably gonna wait on this one as well. It's not giving me what I need. Because at this point, I'd like to trade off this POI up here, or at least this candle, this IPA getting filled. That's where my area of interest for this is at this point. Just look at a couple Forex pairs. Actually, I want to look at ES. Check it off here. I'll just look at ES, the actual ES chart. See here, I think, did you leave equal highs up there? No, you didn't. You had a nice liquidity raid yesterday, just like everything else. I mean, I really wanted higher on ES, but I think there was some kind of 1 hour flip zone or something in that area. Yeah, we broke above that. Looks like barely. See, I wanted a little higher for ES. Like I wanted somewhere up in this area right here, like preferably even here, eventually. But I don't know if we'll see that or not. 4 hour is bullish right here, so we got to break a stretch to the upside. So now we've got, our 4 hour low and our 4 hour high. I think the pullback's definitely begun. It's funny seeing people on Twitter that don't understand market structure. They're just like, "Oh, back to the bear market." It's like you were never out of the bear market. But just simply understanding market structure will save you so much time and so much hassle and confusion. Because like here, I just look at this. Okay, well, we know the daily and weekly's bearish. We know we just removed a lot of sell side liquidity down here. 4 hour break stretch to the upside. Okay, well, what do we expect after that? We're going to expect a pullback. How can we pair that? Well, with this instance, we had a breaker block. I think right. Yeah, this candle right here. This is more of an ICT style because you had this failed demand zone that we pushed right into. Also that 1 hour flip zone, we pushed right into it, filled the inefficiency, because we know that we're going to see a reaction once we fill these fair value gaps, and then we got to break a structure internally. And it's just literally like 2 + 2. Once you understand it, I'm not trying to make it sound like, oh, it's so easy, you should understand this, but I am saying that once you do understand it, you're going to be able to navigate a lot more mechanically and less emotionally. And the more you have to like question shit, the more your emotions start to come in and influence your decision making. So like if you're watching a trade and you're like, oh, it's gonna go. Like you start to like rationalize to yourself why to get into the trade instead of like, scenario two, you just have, okay, well, I need, 4 hour demand, I need a 15-minute internal break of structure, and then I need a 1 minute internal break of structure in our new 15-minute demand. That's very straightforward. So when he said, can I chart ape? They full ported on shorts. Okay, well, let's check it for you. I was gonna do SPY, but my heart goes out to you if you're actually full porting. Don't do that. I haven't looked at this in a while. I'm just gonna clean off my whole chart. I used to be so like attached to my TA. I didn't ever want to like delete all my chart or my stuff. But I recommend you refresh your hygiene on your charts often. I'm not even gonna start on the weekly here because we just don't really have that much data with Ape. Ooh, that's bearish right there. A lot of stop loss are gonna be sitting right under $3. All the fucking Basie fanboys, they're even gonna get stopped out there. Actually, the sad thing is probably a lot of them won't because they're just gonna hold forever. Daily break structure here. Daily high, and understanding the daily range is really really important to once you're building your bias of how you're going to frame your approach to trading this pair, because we know we're bearish here, but I mean after break of structure, what do we expect? And we expect a pullback. Where to? Preferably at a premium, but not always. Sometimes it gets sometimes you just see a barely pullback and it keeps going. That, like for instance, this scenario right here, and this is why crypto, you can do all this TA, but nothing's really going to matter if Bitcoin is doing its thing, because theoretically you look here, you would have wanted to pull back farther to mitigate some of these areas, but you just didn't get it. Just wasn't happening. So that could happen here. We could just be pulling back from right here. But looking at this from a structural point of view, we have let's see. I wonder what happened first here. If this high happened first, this is not a change of character. But if the low happened first, let's see the dates. This is the 17th, this is the 18th. So on the 17th, okay, so it looks like the low happened first. So that would make this your daily change of character right there. So that was gonna, because you created a low, price came back up. This is more aggressive than a lot of people do it, but that for me that would have been your change of character, and it's obviously correct. We started the daily pullback. Now you've got not one but two daily changes of character. So the only problem I see here is you also just got a bearish change of character. So usually, on a daily chart, once you start to see that, that's when the pullback's over. Now, did we tap into some supply? Looks like there's definitely going to be supply in this wick. We know this is going to be a flip zone, and the reason we know that is we know we have demand at this extreme. Any kind of bottom you have in a swing range or top, you have demand or supply there, even if it's not clear. Yes, there's fractal demand here. For those of you in the class, I know we went over different types of supply and demand, but you know, at at that level, it's kind of like, don't overthink it. Like, okay, some kind of demand had to come into the market to create a low, because we always know when we're trading with high time frame structure that these areas have vested interests in them. We have a strong high, and while this is a weak low, there's still demand down here. Now, whether that'll hold or not, it usually doesn't in a downtrend, but we do know there was demand. So we look at this as a flip zone because price came down, it tapped into this area, couldn't close under it, right? So we didn't get a break of structure. Price pulled back in this wick, bounced pretty hard, and then blasted through it. So that new supply was created right there. You can probably see this, yep, on a 4 hour. So just get familiar with if we hit a zone like this or hit any demand zone. So he said, so I full ported it. I'm trying to exit a day. I'm shorting this house short term. I'm just wondering what you think about shorting like right now. Well, I will be honest, you have to build this story to know anything about right now. Like, everything I'm doing may seem boring and monotonous, but you need to understand this before you trade. But I mean, I will say, okay, if you want to give you an immediate bias, you just cleared a lot of sell side liquidity right here. Um, I see the bearish motive, like why you want to short it, but I wouldn't have shorted it like right here personally. You know, um, let's see, you broke down right there. So you broke this internal low right here. So at this point, it looks like you pushed back into this supply candle. And we're viewing this all from a high time frame. You could go down lower and see this more real time. I wouldn't. You probably go higher before you go lower. I mean, I think you will go lower, but I mean, you failed the fair value gap. That was really the only displacement. You tapped into this institutional candle, so maybe you're good, but it's not the cleanest price action. You could look at that as your new supply being satisfied, because you had another. It's the same thing. It's a flip zone. You had a demand zone here. Price came, tapped into it, pulled back, blasted through it. It'll be clear on an even lower time frame. There you go. See how you can do that. You can view price from any time frame and understand what's going on. Just like we went from the daily to the 4 hour. We just went from the 15-minute to the 5 minute. You know, those time frames are almost equally fractal. We have, or actually no, they're not. What am I saying? There's 6 4 hour candles in a daily, and only 5 minutes. I don't know where my brain's at. Somebody said, "Well, I'll let you know on Twitter if I lose hella money or make hella money." Okay, well, I would recommend. Are you up right now? Because if you're up right now, it's like you made that you made the forbidden full port choice, but you can repent. I'm being serious. I know it's funny, but if you seriously, if you're up and you make decisions like that, I know you're sitting there waiting to like press that button, and you're like, oh fuck, no, it's gonna go, and that's like the true FOMO demons kicking in. But if you like ever 1.77%, my honest advice to you, just cut it. Oh, you're down. You're down 50. Never mind 100. 1.77%. I mean, if it were me, because I've just been through that too many times, I would cut it. Now, if this just dumps, you're gonna fucking hate me. If I tell you to cut it, and you just, oh dude, like, I can't give you that kind of advice. You know what I'm saying? At the end of the day, I can just give you education to help you make a decision, and I can tell you what I would do. But I've been in that situation before, and I like to mitigate that kind of risk, even if it results in a minor loss. It's like there's an example. I actually watched this in a MIT open courseware video of about human risk aversion. And also, anybody in YouTube, feel free to answer this. Now, if you had two scenarios, so scenario one, you can either possibly make $500 or possibly lose $500. You have a 50-50. Okay, that's scenario one. You're basically betting 50-50 to make or lose 500 bucks. Now, scenario two, you just 100% lose 250 bucks. There's no chance of winning, but you have a full chance of losing 250 bucks. Now, what decision would you make at that point? Just put it in the YouTube comments or anybody in Discord too. Anyways, back to TA. I just want to see how people answer that. It's kind of a little experiment. But with ape, okay, supply zone, this flip zone, we've refined it on our 4-hour to this area. We broke structure to the downside, so it looks bearish for sure. It definitely looks bearish. Now you've cleaned out that was a daily break of structure at the internal break of structure. So it looks like you swept out some liquidity here, right there. And then we have this is kind of a big zone, but you have demand here. I'm gonna go to a 15-minute. Thank you, baby. I'm gonna go to a 15-minute and refine this. Looks like you have another flip zone. I love these flip zones. Like I always will pay attention to flip zones. So you had a price came up into a supply zone, it reacted, and then pushed through. I would say this whole zone right here. Is that where you reacted to? Almost. So it's pretty close. What's that? 4.605. The low of this candle was 606. So it's almost to the penny. You cleared some liquidity. And if I was looking to short this, I'd be saying, okay, well, I really don't see any clear signs of displacement anywhere except maybe this tiny fair value gap. So that would lead me to mark a zone up here at the extreme. And then kind of look, okay, well, here is your original low time frame distribution up here. It's the UTAD of the bigger distribution schematic. So, I mean, you could look in this zone, just this whole zone right here. You could also refine it maybe down to like these last couple candles. But this price action is not really too clean, in my opinion. You don't have a very clean 4-hour POI, so I probably wouldn't touch it. That's just me. But I do see the short bias. But I also could see price pushing up a little bit. And yeah, so 2 people said option 1 so far. I'll let it go for a little bit, and I'll tell you what the theoretical correct answer is, because I guess that's one of those that's like you can't like factually prove it. But APIE, isn't this like some crazy like shitcoin? To sum up ape for you, yeah, so you closed it. Good job. There you go. I'm proud of you. Now, don't hate me if that shit dumps, because it could, but just know that you just made the right decision based on risk tolerance. Because now if you want to gamble and it goes to 0, well, then you lost a bet, but you didn't lose a trade because there was no trade there. If you're full porting shit, that's a gamble. Dude said it's down. I would have been in the muddy subbing. Oh, I can't tell if you're serious or not, but if you are, I wish you the best of luck in your travels, bud. Let's see. There's no volume. Yeah, there's not much volume in all these shit coins right now. It's just like I was saying. No, he's kidding. That's what I figured. But there's not much. That's why I'm just not. You're not seeing everybody in the Discord. You haven't seen me just call out alts much lately. Like I'm just not. It's just like 2 + 2 = 4. AP though, this shit looks insane. I wonder if there's a better feed. There we go. Okay, it's still about the same. So you removed a shitload of liquidity over here. Didn't seem to really do much. And this daily doesn't look horrible down here. This looks like the beginning signs of accumulation. Starting to see lows get manipulated, followed by internal breaks of structure. So this doesn't look terrible, honestly. This looks better than Unify or anything else we've really looked at. Um, um, I was reading the comments. Also, just for you guys that are wondering, the correct option to that question was to lose $250. Take because you're whenever you're looking at it from the large scheme of things, you're eliminating risk by doing that. And that's in the big, like for like big boy investors, that's what they're more focused on, is eliminating risk. Because if you eliminate as much risk as possible and you have enough money, if your money's not going down, it's gonna go up. Okay, so the API, I'm just gonna call it API because I don't know what the fuck it's actually called. Um, Theoretically, you've got bearish structure here, but it's barely a little closure. You got it though, so I would mark this as your daily range right here. If you can get above that, if you close above this right here, you are in this spot, but if you can close above it, that would be pretty bullish. You'll see a retracement after it, but you should. But so that's your daily range right now. We've definitely got our change of character was right. Actually, this is weird. This isn't a high. Neither is this. I don't know what happened first here. The high or the low? Probably the low. So maybe your internal change of character is right there. That's a weird one. But you're forming such fucked up price structure here because you didn't really have that change of characters until up there, because this was the last high you had. So you got your daily change of character though. Uh, I like this zone here because you have that low front running it. Wrong color. You have that low front running the zone. Also, you have a fair value gap right there. So, you know, you might clear out this liquidity up here. You just clear these equal highs. Looks like you're going to have a hard time closing it. 4-hour structure is, seems like the 4-hour structure is about the same as the daily. Just so many wicks. Yeah, the 4-hour structure for me would be the same as the daily, because here was it before. You didn't get a closure till right there, same as the daily. So same thing really. The 4 hours still theoretically bearish. You just came above these equal highs, coming into a supply zone. I mean, for me, this would be a short if I was going to trade, but I would be a little more. I think there's better shorts to be had because the daily doesn't look bad. That daily pullback looks like it might be beginning, and you always have to be aware of the higher time frames. So if I did take shorts, I'd probably be out of them down here. I wouldn't try to swing them to the week low, or I'd maybe be out like 75% here and take something farther. But um, I would look for price to change character on, I guess. Let's see. I mean, theoretically, we could just draw this whole zone right there. So now if you see the 15-minute shift bearish, so right now your internal low is pretty far away. Be this candle right there. And the reason I choose that inside bar is because we had a low here because we made the prior candle broke its high. We had that trend until we didn't, so we had a pullback, and then we started a new internal leg of price. So you said the hourly. I try not to check the hourly. I don't like the hourly time frame. I think too many time frames leads to forcing shit. I see it right here though. If that's what you're talking about, the 23rd. But for me, the 4-hour zone's fine too. If I really want to refine it, I'd go to a 15. Be able to see the same thing. See that I like this better. I like looking at that in that one candle because now I can see where the displacement really start. You could, if you wanted to really refine it, you'd say this range right here in that little internal range. So you could see price push up into that. Um, oh, that's where you pushed up into. Looks like very close to it. So you could probably, ideally, what you'd want here is price to push up, right? Clear out this. That would give you a new low, and then you can you could trade off that if you get what you need. But for usually when you see price come up and create this liquidity, because everybody's shorting, right here, their stops are right there. And so they're going to get cleaned out or trapped in their positions, um, and then price will push down, take out the low. That's what I would look for at least. Actually, this is, never mind, your internal low is right here. I just realized this is an inside bar. Right there. That'd be internal low. So you actually do have a little bit tighter price action. So he said this is a scam coin that has a yacht on the books. That's funny. Oh shit. Sorry, overcharged. Somebody said, let me finish eating this pineapple. Sorry. Somebody asked, I've learned a lot from you, but I wondered if you could do a quick explanation of internal and external structure. So I can do it real quick because we could go on for a while about that. But so your external structure is your swing structure. So in a market where we're making higher highs and higher lows, we have a break of structure because here was your old high, and then you look for the lowest point between. And this is swing structure, external swing, same thing. So in order to have a low, you have to have a new high, right? In a bullish market, in order to have that high or low, you have to create a new high, and then you just pick the lowest point between those new highs, and now you have a new swing range. Vice versa in a bear market. Now, for internal structure, during that move to the upside, we have a lot of candles, right? And a lot of wicks, and it looks more like this. It's not as clean as those, very clean straight lines I just drew. But we know, and this, whenever we're looking at internal structure, it's all internal to the swing, but we can use it to identify the beginning and the end of a pullback. Because after, if we're in a bullish market and we break structure, we expect a pullback. How can you determine when that starts? With that first internal change of character. Okay, how do you know when the pullback's over? With that first internal change of character. Guess what would be right. So now we can pair that with supply and demand, premium and discount, and we can get way more into that, but that's another video for another day. It's a lot of information that we go over it in the Discord. We have classes every Saturday that we go over that kind of stuff, but that's like a whole hour-long stuff. But in a nutshell, that's that. And I can also show you a quick example. So let's go to something that has actual price action. So let's look at the daily. So for instance, when we're looking at the daily price, we see these major pullbacks. I gotta plug my mouse in, it's dying. We see these major moves and followed by a pullback. So if you're looking at the swing price, oftentimes you kind of can draw it by the naked eye. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. So in this swing range right here, we pushed up. So is this a swing low? No. What about this? What about even this over here? No. Until we have a closure, which looks like we got one right here, you don't have a low. Now we come up. Now, did we know this was a high at this point? No. Remember, if we're in a downtrend, you have to create a new low like this with a closure, and then you just pick the highest point between the two lows. And you look, okay, where do we have a decent reaction from? Okay, that's your low. Where did you get a closure? Right there. So what's the high? It's the highest point between the two lows. You can continue doing that until that what is that? No, what did you say, Cashocon? I don't know what he's talking about. Where is it? Oh, I see what he's talking about now. No trade. No trade, bruh. No 50-50, no 250 loss. I'm not sure if you're explaining that you pick one, or you're saying neither. But yeah, that's swing structure for overcharged. And then internal structure, we can look at as more of a candle to candle basis. And it's the same rule. We have to have a new high to confirm a new low. So we're just looking at the candle after, any candle like this, where we have, most people would say this is the low right here because it's the lowest point. And that's not the case because this candle didn't make a new high next to it. The candle after it did not take its high. But what happened here? This candle produced a new candle that broke its high. So that's a low. Remember, a low's job is to make a new high. Now we go up, we made a higher high, and we didn't make a higher high here. Right? We don't know what happened first here. If the low happened first, this was once a high. If the high happened first, it was once a low. But whichever it was first got violated. Then we can look over here. A lot of people would say this is your high. Well, this is not your high because the candle after it didn't break its low. That happened here though. This candle right here broke this candle's low. So that's your new high. And you can change this up. You don't have to make a new low or make a new high. Thinking of the last candle. You have to make a new low or high thinking of the current candle. So I could have another low without breaking this low. And this switches very, very fast and can give a lot of false signals. That's why we pair this with supply and demand from a higher time frame. So that's a crash course on that. I won't, I could just go on for that a while. Let me know if that helped you at all in the comments. Just hopefully it helped a little bit. And also Milo's learning. That's great. I try to days like this. I'd rather just hang out with you guys and do some TA and answer questions because I'm personally not really pressed to trade in this kind of stuff. But I think it's a better time to just kind of watch, and wait for the dust to settle. And then if you're gonna make moves, make moves. And here with Nas, you came down on that demand zone. You did get your bullish change of character. This is a great example of internal structure. So I'll rewind it so it's clearer. So we know at this point, okay, well, we had a high right here because we went low right here was low because the candle after broke its high. This trend continued until it ended. And in this instance, this is your high because we broke down below this low. This candle after it broke its low. So now we have a new high. Okay, right here, we didn't have a low, remember, because this candle didn't break its high. But the next candle broke its high, so we had a new low. And then we came down, took that out, but you cleared it, you made a new high right here. Not because you cleared this low, but because this candle produced a candle after it that broke its low. So now you have a new internal high. All this doesn't matter anymore. And you can say, okay, oh, look at that. We broke above the high. Then you can say, okay, that's your internal change of character. If you had framed the trade setup on a higher time frame. Now, for me, I could see it possibly, but I would be much more comfortable longing from here, if anywhere. We are bullish in the 4 hour, and we are at a discount, right? So the 4 hour, whatever, we're bullish, but you got to remember the daily, the weekly, everything is bearish as fuck, and looks like it's ready to kind of end. So this is a decisional point. If you break under this low, or I'm sorry, this is not the decisional point. I like trading somewhere where, if I trade and it's against the trend, I want to trade at that last point where it's like if I get stopped out, then the whole idea is stopped. So for instance, price could come here, move around and then dump all the way down to right here. And the daily internal structure is still bullish, and that notion of that you're still in a pullback isn't dead. When I look at this, I see price pulled. We're in a bearish market. Price pulled back all the way up into here, right? Came up far into a premium and starts to sell off. So for me, this just looks like the daily, bearish continuation is starting. Theoretically, we can't confirm it until right here, but I keep that in mind. So it's going to make me a little more cautious to take a buy. And the way I look at it, okay, well, even if we do have a good buying opportunity here, well, we're just coming up to an area where I would want to sell. I wish I'd have just held more of my runners. I closed my runners off last night at market close, but you know, um, at the end of the day, if you miss the move on the way up, remember we can hit the move on the way down. So no need to force stuff, no need to rush. The way I see it, we've got a 4-hour breaker block right there. You can also find this. This is an interesting area right here. So this really isn't flip because it broke through it already. You just kind of pause. You did hit something over here that caused you to pause. I would just watch this. I'll change this bearish now. I would just watch this zone for shorts instead of trying to watch for longs. That might not happen today even. It might be tomorrow. It might not happen at all. But that would be my remedy for, like, oh fuck, what if I want a long right here? I don't see it doesn't give me what I want to see because, like, yeah, we're in a 4-hour, we're bullish in the 4-hour, we're in a demand zone, in discount, trying to change character in the lower time frames, but I'm just looking at the high time frame, which is the daily, and also macroeconomics, which are terrible, that tell me, well, we might not hold this 4-hour range. So if I'm gonna try to trade it, I'm gonna try to trade it from like the absolute decisional point where if I get stopped out, then like my bias for longs is gone. I'm not going to try to catch all the longs against the daily time frame. Somebody asked about ocean. I think it was salmon. Weekly range, insane. So the daily doesn't look too bad because to me, this isn't a break of structure. This is just a liquidity raid right there because you didn't get a closure under it. So there's not really much to go off of looking left. So I don't know what would make you bounce here. You kind of just have the liquidity raid, because when you're looking at the price structure, we had a very huge bearish range as well. So everything just tanking. Here was your break of structure there. Daily all the way up here. Daily low is the same as the weekly low. So you've got a really big range. And let's see what kind of POIs you have. You got a daily order block, flip zone right at equilibrium. It could be a high value area. I wouldn't bet the farm on it getting up there, but that'd be somewhere you'd really look to enter some nice shorts. And then once we break down under this low, you didn't get a closure. So that could mean we're just raiding liquidity. Using these principles on these kind of coins is kind of finicky and they can be fickle sometimes, but that's how I would see that. You got a liquidity raid and immediately after you got a daily change of character, right? So you produce new demand. This candle, price came into that candle and did what? Got another break of structure. So you're respecting this newly introduced demand. You're in this other demand right here. You got another break of structure here. So you're on that kind of staircase up where you could be retracing up, but we are bearish in the daily, so I'm more short biased at this point. The daily pullback could be beginning though, so I would watch for these zones. I'm just going to mark this whole little range right here because we have the inefficiency fill right under it. So you could watch that zone, for maybe to take profit for any longs, for any kind of swings if you're in them, or definitely look for shorts there if we get confirmation. We're looking at the 4-hour. I'm going to delete these because we know what we have. Look at the 4-hour. There was your break of structure right there. So you got to break a structure. So now we have a new 4-hour range. So we can go ahead and draw it up here. Now, this isn't good right here. That's a pretty clear liquidity raid. Here is your high, price came back down, came up, could not close above it. So this is probably just taking out those buy stops that were at this equal high and coming back down into another zone of demand. Because at the end of the day, looking at it from a perspective of market structure, we now have a weak low here, right here, because we didn't get a closure above this. So I would look for price to come down and take this low out. And then if I look, I can refine this zone that the very first zone we had, the original introduction of demand, down to a zone that never got mitigated, that also has equal lows. I actually like this setup. It's fucking the ocean of all coins. So there you got liquidity. I'll actually set an alert for this one just because it interests me. I'm not sure if I'll trade it or not. I know I'm kind of the alt hater right now, but I'll trade an altcoin if I like the setup enough. And I like this because for me, even if we come down here and if you do start to reverse there, you've swept a lot of liquidity. I wouldn't target the moon, anything like that, but you could have a pretty clear target as this high right here because it goes right up into this supply as well. You see what I mean? Even if you're going to be bearish, I could see price coming down and clearing out that weak low, clearing out the liquidity, and then coming back up into that zone over here, and then starting your move down if you're going to do that. So that's not a terrible setup. It looks like it's being framed pretty nicely. I'll keep my eyes on that. XMR or AXS. I think there was something. Let me look. I want to make sure I'm not skipping anybody. Ape, I got that one. Oh yeah, Oscar, I just saw you were talking about Ocean earlier. Wasn't there someone else that asked about Ocean? Am I crazy?
Yeah, it was me.
That's what I thought. That's what I thought. I thought it was Santa, and I was like, wait, what? What is this Zapper? What is this? Hold on, my Discord's on like half a screen. Oh, is this HG1? HG1? Oh, never mind. It's Copper. Wait, is Copper's ticker HG1? I never even look at. No, that's it. It is. It is. Never mind. HGIX. That's the housing one. I was thinking of that. I haven't looked at Copper at all, man. So with these charts, I'm gonna always start them monthly because we do have that. You have a reason to look there. So here I would see. I don't really pay attention too much to the swing structure in the monthly because it's usually really wide. I'll just look for areas where I think a liquidity rate happened. That doesn't look like that to me. I mean, it could be, but you hung out around here for a couple months now, or not a couple months, of over a year. So I wouldn't really watch that zone. The weekly, switched bear on the weekly with the last weekly closure. So now your swing structure is so right here. Now we can mark out our weekly high and our weekly low. All right, that's monthly. Weekly low. So now we've got our narrative that prices switch bearish, supply is in control. So we can either wait for a pullback to begin. We're on a weekly chart, so it could be a while, and wait for that to start. So weekly's bearish. Now we are in a pretty nice demand zone right there. We're not in it, but we tapped into it. So, tap the fractal demand. What is this? 364. Yeah, to the penny. Tap that zone. So that's pretty nice. You could start to see that zone here. And once you see that indecision candle, and I know some people are screaming doji. I'm more just saying the inside bar. Sometimes that's where you see a pullback in an internal leg. Like for instance, right here, inside bar. So indecision, move to the downside. Happens a lot. Now, it's not. I wouldn't bet the farm on that, but that's just stuff you can add to your perspective. So we're in a weekly demand. This weekly demand was also a flip zone. You guys know I like flip zones. We had a pretty massive supply zone over here that had no problem breaking through. Who knows, maybe it was just to come up and clean out these orders, but we did break through that zone. So also you could say we're in a breaker right there. So the weekly is bearish, but I do see the notion of a pullback beginning here. So at this point, I'll go into the daily chart. Still nothing here. This is one I'd wait on personally because I think it's a good setup, but I think it needs more time. So the daily range, now we can plot that out. The daily had to switch bearish before the weekly did. Obviously, we know that it switched bearish. It looks like um, right here with that candle closure. There was your daily break of structure. You got your daily pullback. And how could we have known when this daily pullback was going to begin? Well, you were applying some fractal demand over here, and you got a change of character. So the guy who's asking about internal structure, this is how you use it. So you had this, or I'm sorry, wrong candle. You had this internal high right here because the candle after it took its low, came up and broke above it. Now, this can signify the beginning of a pullback. So even though you're bearish, you can pull back. And where do you pull back to? Oftentimes, right to a premium. Fill to fair value gap, down move. Here you could have caught some counter trend longs. You could have said, okay, we daily break a structure. You've got your demand right here. After you get the break of structure, price trades into it. The 4-hour at that time probably switched bullish internally, like this right here. So you switched bullish in that zone. So then you could look, okay, well, what zone caused that? Last down candle for an up move. And then I could go here, and I could go on the 15-minute. And you could continuously do this. It's the same strategy. So, okay, then what happened here? Okay, 15-minute switch bullish. Demand sponsored that switch. You could have waited to the 1 minute to go in here. You see what I'm saying? You can continuously layer this confirmation throughout time frames, and you can catch really good trades. Because remember, you're framing this around the higher time frame. That's why um, I made that infographic the other day about the multi-time frame analysis, because when you frame something around the high time frames, you can extend your profit targets and be confident in your TA rather than just looking at the right now. So he said, can I go over breaker blocks? It's an ICT strategy. It's just a failed order block. So for instance, we go on the weekly. We had a order block right here, that big candle before the down move. Price came into it, it failed. So the way ICT plays them, he watches them in that zone. Now, oftentimes we know what happens with these zones. We know that price had to, if we see a reaction. Now, this, you have to see a reaction, in my opinion. Some people would say different. Now, if you just push through this, I would have said your order block was wrong. But when you see this reaction here, your price did see a reaction, right? But then we pushed right through it. And another thing I just want to point out about this zone. So when you have sweep zones, so for instance, this zone really could be this down candle as well. Yeah, this shit right here. Milks, are you watching this? Oh, he's talking about something else. I don't think he's even in here. I thought he was talking about this. I was like, yep. But so once we react to price here, you see what happened. Well, we had a internal low get taken out. So a lot of people, you got faked out here. You're in a weekly supply zone, internal structure broke, and then it just flew. You're like, what the fuck happened? Now, that's sometimes how it goes. You know what I mean? But that zone right here, that's a very powerful zone because not only did it sponsor the break of that weekly breaker block and internal structure and, displacement right in front of it, but it also swept out range liquidity because this is on the weekly. So that swept out the previous monthly low probably. Yep. This candle. Oh no, it actually didn't. It didn't take the previous monthly low, but it took all of the range liquidity that you had over here. All the stop loss that were right here from this demand zone, people got swept, and then it just flew. So when that happens, that's a very good zone. So we also saw a reaction to the zone to the penny on the weekly chart, which is pretty fucking insane for copper futures. Now, see, we've built that whole story now. We're starting to really build the story of what's going on. And you should do this with everything you trade. Everything you trade, you should do this. So on the daily chart, we've marked out our daily high and low. And now we can kind of scale in and build this story. what on our immediate story, like our swing perspective. What's going to happen in the next days to weeks? Because that was the weekly. We went in the monthly. Even we've really built, you know, a high time frame story. So now we're in that breaker. We're in that flip zone. This might be a reason where we could see some. What is someone saying about KuCoin perps? Oh, we could see a pullback begin. Now we haven't got any signs of that. So all we need though is that to break, because that's our recent internal high. We have a low, right? This candle's a low because the candle after it breaks its high. Next candle breaks its high. Now that internal leg's over because this candle didn't break its high, but it also took the low. So now we have an internal high. You see a break above this. I will look. I'm actually going to mark this to my list because I like this. I need to move this to metals. I actually like this a lot. Good looks, Boston. I don't know why I've been slacking on looking at this, but so once we break above that, or if we break above it, who knows? We might just free fall from here, whatever. But if we break above it, I'm gonna look for some longs. Now I will say I won't try to swing them too long because I do usually look for a price to pull back into a premium, and we do have a nice flip zone right here. All right. And these flip zones are beautiful for continuations because this is where price had that decisional point where it came down into that demand. And what happened? It said, no, fuck that. Right. So once that happens, we know that price is the same thing over here. Same thing as that weekly zone. Those are going to be strong zones because it was a decisional point where the market maker said, no, we're pushing through this. So that same thing happened here, but it also happened over here. So if I'm trading a daily time frame and against the weekly time frame, I'm going to be more conservative. So if I could catch, price coming up, say if it, kind of moves. Why is it? Oh, wrong tool. Say kind of price just moves, breaks above it. We have new demand, and we come down on a 4-hour I'm watching. I'm just going to take longs into here, and that's more than enough for me. You don't have to catch the insane moves. And theoretically, okay, what if it hits my TP and then it shows more bullish price action? I might get in again, but I'm going to be mindful of everything around me. So on the 4-hour, crazy. That's where I like that zone. We literally to the penny. That's pretty crazy for fucking metals. Usually don't see that. So right here, mark our 4-hour swing structure first. And this is, see, look at this. 4-hour swing structure, so bearish. So you're like really counter trend. If you were trying to long this right now. But look at the 4-hour swing structure. We have this big zone, but we can refine it to that internal zone. You could even refine it farther, but I would just refine it like this. Right? You could even refine it to a 4-hour flip zone because here's your demand right there. Okay, what happens when price comes and touches into it? You have these buy to sell wicks. It's another fractal form of demand. So if we go on a 15-minute, or I'm sorry, not demand, but supply. If you're on a 15-minute, you can refine it even. You can continuously do this, right? Continuously. You could go down and maybe into this zone because you're looking for where did that demand really fail? Because now we've gone down here. Okay, here's this demand. Where did it really, really fail? Is this inside bar out here? We love inside bars. Also, you've got highs in front of it. So that's how you can really refine price action to, now would I just take a short limit off that? Absolutely fucking not. But would I watch it if I was in a long, or watch it for shorts? Definitely. Because where everybody wants to short this? They want to short it right here, which may be a good POI as well. But if it gets taken, that's going to be a lot of liquidity. It's getting cleaned out. So here at this point, I'm not going to jump the gun on anything. I think it's at a very decisional point. If you're in longs from the 4-hour, theoretically you broke structure here. We marked it already once. Broke it right there, but then you came down and you swept. If you wanted to see a healthy continuation, the pillar came here, got swept. Now back into this original demand. We can refine all this in a lower time frame if we wanted. I don't really like that just yet. You're starting to show those little signs of strength though. Now that demand right here was respected, and how do we know it's respected? Because new demand was introduced. So how do we know that? Simple, just like whatever in the class. Break of structure, if it's internal or external, no matter what, you have demand. or supply if it's to the downside. So now you're looking at this zone, price is coming into this area. What do we have right here? Okay, we have a flip zone. We have supply in this area right here. This whole little last range, last internal price leg before we went down. Looks like you just cleared it out. There's also supply over here, that flip zone. I wouldn't really consider that actually. From the naked eye, it looked like it into it. We can refine these 4-hour zones. We just know this is a 4-hour demand candle. So we can refine it if we'd like, to maybe something after an inefficiency with Lowe's front running it. Just like the infographic I made on inducement on Twitter. If you haven't seen it, it explains this. So, early longs. So this is what retail did. Price broke out. That's this resistance. Okay. Oh, long. So everybody's long. It's retail. They're long here, and their stop loss is where? Oh, the low. We're not going to take that out. So they're going long here, and now they're trapped. Now they're scared. They might be foaming on their positions, and their stop losses are right there. Well, guess what the market maker's doing? He's pushing down, and he's going to liquidate those longs, fill this inefficiency, filling up any institutional order flow that was left behind, also revisiting a zone of demand. Now, that's what we speculate. Now, how can we confirm that? Well, the price comes in here, and we see a lower time frame shift to the bullish narrative. But that's the idea we can build off that. That's called inducement. Now, how would that get invalidated? Well, if you come right here and you break structure to the upside, then it's, okay, well, maybe it was a good zone. But whenever we have zones, POIs like this, that we refined from a higher POI, where there's displacement in front of them with a fair value gap and a low front running it, it happens all the time.
That's called get fucked.
Yeah, exactly. That's the get fucked block. That's not ICT. I came up with that one, guys. Kiwis are fucking smack. I do like this chart a lot, though, Boston. Somebody said just finished on mine. Yeah, the Kiwis are smack, bro. Gotta go to the store and get some more. Where are you at, Oscar? Yeah, you're in Australia. Yeah, that's what I thought. Australia. What part of Australia? Like out in like the rural areas or like the metro area? I'm like city. Okay, so you're partially safe. There's only like camel spiders and stuff. No, there's no camel spiders. Dude, it's yeah. I know Pac-Man. He was in here for a minute. He would just like talk to us about like all sorts of crazy shit. So much wildlife there. That'd be awesome. I want to go to Australia one day or New Zealand one.
I definitely recommend you take a trip to New Zealand.
Yeah, I bet it's insane, bro.
Just don't go when it gets cold, because it gets really cold.
Does it? Like super, super cold?
Yeah, it's like close to South Pole.
Ugh.
Yeah, so it'll get cold. But during summer, it's chilling. It's nice.
Seems like Nas wants to hang out here, but I don't trust it. That's why I'm kind of just chilling today. Yesterday was a good day. No need to force anything. It's crazy how much news there's been lately, dude. It's like every week there's high impact news on the dollar, 2 or 3 days out of the week. It's fucking nuts. Well, I'm gonna look at XMR for Nassim, and then after that, I'm gonna hop off here, and that'll be the last one. Thanks for one. Theoretically, you just got your break structure on the weekly, and your weekly range is fucking massive. You can actually see it. Equal highs up there. You got a little while before you can pull back, I will say that. You are in demand. Very well, were in demand. You came and tapped into it, I should say. So weekly break structure, weekly demand. Possibly look for a pullback at some point, but we haven't been given a reason for that yet. The daily chart, on the other hand, looks like it gave us grounds to look for a pullback. I could be wrong, but we'll see. The naked eye looks like it has. So we got our daily low and daily high. You can come in, mark our premium discount. I would say there's fractal demand on these buy to sell wicks because we had this demand zone right here. Price came into it, reacted, pushed through it. So I would say there is definitely some supply there. It's right at equilibrium too. So that would be a nice POI if we were fine on a 4-hour. The daily looks like gave us our change of character right there. Had demand in this inside bar. Damn it, wrong color. Oh, Papa's in that Ethereum long. I'll peep it. I'll peep it real quick after this one. I'm gonna hop off. You got your second introduction of demand. It's not the second. I'm sorry. The second one's intersected. The third one, it seems like you're in it right now. The daily. This actually doesn't look bad for longs. No bullshit. So for me, I'll actually watch this. So you got to break a structure there. So maybe you already pushed above it and you're coming back down into the demand. Not really much displacement there. As far as no fair value gap. But you did come down to this last down candle, it seems like. Maybe not all the way, but you came close into it. Not bad price action here. So yeah, you came back into this zone. 4-hour change of character in the daily zone. The 4-hour swing structure is bullish. Seeming pretty strong. Actually, no, wait. If you consider this a pullback, I don't know how I feel about that. It's kind of weird. I don't know if I would consider that a pullback. I mean, let's see how much. I don't know, it's 6%. Usually with Monero, the pullbacks seem to be a little. I don't know, they're not huge, to be honest. Yeah, and that's another thing too. So look right here. So price comes up, breaks it, but then what do we have right here? We had a high right here. We also had a low. So that low got taken. So now the daily internal has shifted bearish right there. And also that would support this being a swing low on the 4-hour, because we came under it on the daily internal structure is oftentimes the 4-hour structure. So I would almost look at that as your break of structure. This is your new 4-hour range. Interesting price action. This is where you can see that 4-hour pullback begin. So I would say this is your 4-hour low, your 4-hour high. There you got your change of character on the 4-hour. But now see how that matters to be cognizant of what you're operating within. Because now at first I was like, okay, this looks good, might target this high. But now I'm like, okay, I would just target. It looks like you just came right into this zone. Yeah, I don't know. Once it's like this, it's kind of finicky because like you could see both perspectives without refining zones. I would probably see maybe the long perspective a little more up to like this area. I want to see if that's that inside bar. No, it's just the wick here. Other what? That was the inside bar down there. Yeah, I would maybe watch this and just kind of study it, but it's just too. It's at a decisional point. It's it tapped into 4-hour supply, and the 15-minute just shifted bearish. Oh, but it's in 15-minute demand inside the 4-hour demand inside the day. You know what I mean? So it's like I see more demand building up here if you can confirm break structure to the upside. But I'd probably sit it out and just watch and revisit price up at this area right here. Yeah, at the end of the day, whenever price is like this, um, I'm not really one to rush into trading counter trend. If anything, I just wait for the pro trend move whenever it's decision like that, because then you have this 4-hour supply right here. You have this zone up here. If anything, maybe like longs up into this supply or longs up there. But then it's just like I used to try to like force that kind of stuff, and you can get good trades like that. But it's like, dude, there's so much to be traded out there. I just don't see the point. On that note, I'm gonna hop off here. I appreciate you guys as always, and I'll be on tomorrow night. It'll be a little later in the evening, but we'll go over some stuff, do some education, answer any questions you guys may have, and yeah, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, especially the guys who stayed the whole hour and a half. I really appreciate your time, and I'll see the rest of you guys tomorrow. Until then,